Welcome to Confessions of a Parent Coach. I'm Coach, a mother of four, and potty talker, Ann Kaplan. This is the podcast where I confess something from my own parenting and coaching life, teach a lesson around it, and answer your questions. Even we parenting experts are far from perfect, and the real magic happens when we get down with all that imperfection. We get into the gritty side of parenting here, so earbud up and dive in. Welcome to Confessions of a Parent Coach. I'm so excited to be here with you guys again. Today is a rainy day. A few weeks ago, I had an episode I recorded and it was super sunny and I was all summering it up. And that ship has sailed, my friends. It's one of those days where it's actually been raining for like 24 hours straight. And I actually kind of love it. Living in Denver doesn't happen very often that we get a rainy day, and especially doesn't happen very often where the rain lasts for more than like 30 minutes. And the other reason why I love it is because my bedroom slash office slash recording studio slash meditation space. How many of us are making every room in our house do double duty when we have four kids at home in a house in the middle of Denver that's like 120 years old? That's me. Um, so my room is at the very top of our house and we do not have an attic. So when it rains, I get to listen to all the rain on the roof, and it's been going nonstop for a day now. And it's just so soothing. Usually when I meditate, I listen to meditation music or maybe even a guided meditation. But the last couple of days, I've been like, you know what? I'm just going to listen to my actual real life because it's super soothing and melodious right now. So enjoying the amazing kind of cocoony weather that we're having right now. And today, what I want to talk about essentially is the topic of neutrality. And sometimes I talk about this as being neutral, staying calm. That's what we always hear. And what I hear from clients all the time as I'm trying to learn how to stay calm, right? But if you actually get a little bit deeper with these ideas of calmness and neutrality, what we're really talking about is non-attachment. So if you've done any reading about kind of like the Buddhist ideas of non-attachment or any self-help book out there, I promise has talked to you about non-attachment. Like, it's really important to apply that concept to parenting. In fact, I would say, and maybe this is just my own bias, but I think applying non-attachment to parenting is probably the most important application of non-attachment. So we're going to talk about that today. And just as always, I'm going to start with a confession to you. And my confession is that I have several times with my youngest son, I felt like I really managed to avoid this trap with my older three, but just something about Sky, once he gets hooked into his emotions, he really has a hard time letting them go. And I have found myself committing like the cardinal sin with him of basically telling him in all these stupid verbal, like trying to rationalize with him ways that he should not be upset. Either just saying, like, there's no need for you to cry, or you can have exactly what you want as soon as you calm down. Just stop crying. you know, if you are finding yourself doing this out there, please do not do what I just told you I do. It is very, very useless. It is worse than useless because it dysregulates people even more. Imagine how it feels to you when someone tells you to calm down. It is a huge mistake. And even though I am plugged into this work all day, every day, it was not very long ago the last time I committed this horrible, egregious parenting fail. I think if I'm maybe like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, where Sky just, he's 9, just became hysterical about something. Once he like crosses that threshold, like there's no bringing him back down. He just needs to be in the stratosphere for a while. And every once in a while, it like clicks in with my ego that like this is ridiculous and I just can't let it go. I am attached. I am not in non-attachment anymore. I am attached to my story about why he's freaking out. I'm attached to getting him to stop freaking out. It's like irritating me on like a soul level that he's freaking out. And I am so fixated on getting the whole situation to just stop. And so I thought that would be a great confession for us today to start with, because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about, first, I'm going to be talking about drama. Who in here has a kiddo who you would say is a drama queen, maybe, regardless of gender, or a drama? I say kids are drama addicts, and it's not just kids. Adults, all human beings are drama addicts. We all crave at a visceral level, back in our lizard brains, we crave energy, intensity, emotion, and attention from the people around us. Why? Why do we crave that? And I guarantee it might be hard for you to identify yourself of whether or not you're a drama addict, but I guarantee you can think of at least one adult you know who you're like, oh yeah, they love the drama. Or, and I'm not even going to say or, and you can identify at least one kid you know who is like, drama addict right there. They either perpetuate drama in their lives, they fixate on it. It's almost like they're committed to the negative stuff because it's more upsetting, right? Every time you hang out with them, you get the download, and it's like watching a soap opera or listening to a soap opera. Yeah, we all know people like that. But what I'm saying is we're all like that in our own different ways. And why is that? Why do human beings crave energy, intensity, emotion, and attention? It is because we are social creatures. We have evolved to need, depend on, our survival depends on inclusion in a community. Think about 1,000 years ago. If you were kicked out of your clan, that's it for you. You can't survive on your own. We are not like lone wolves. That's not a thing. By the way, lone wolves, not really a thing. That's why it's standoutish. That's why it's noteworthy. Wolves live in packs, human beings live in communities. And so we evolved to really prioritize making sure that we are included. And what does that mean? We're looking for cues all the time that the people around us want us, need us, care about us, have emotions about us, all of that stuff. And when someone gets really emotionally intense with us, that's a really good sign that they care, like that our relationship matters to them, that we're not kicked out. If you're kicked out, that means nothing, right? No one gives a crap. You're on your own. If someone's upset with you on your behalf, fighting with you, getting emotional with you, now you know, okay, great, we're connected, we're bonded. That's really kind of fucked up when you think about it. Like, okay, so the way that I know I'm safe is from you being mad at me. It's so funny how our big, like, super evolved analytical brains wind up taking something super primal and twisting it around to be something really back assward and confusing and counterproductive and all of that stuff. But that's how it is. So we're drama addicts. Kids are drama addicts. So think about what this means. When your child makes a mistake, they cross a boundary, they break a rule, and you get upset about it, you're giving them energy, intensity, emotion, and attention. Oops, you're accidentally rewarding their misbehavior, because even if it's negative attention that they're getting, even if they are crying, even if we're talking about a little kiddo who's scared of your anger, or a little kiddo who feels shame because you're disappointed with them or whatever, even those negative emotions on a subconscious level, like way back there in the primal parts of the brain, you're scratching an itch for this kiddo. So now you can see why having total neutrality, being non-attached, is so important in parenting. Such a big deal. Now, this is a question I get all the time. Okay, you're telling me to be neutral, but you're also telling me to be compassionate and loving. Because, right, I say all the time, when we give consequences, we give them with love and empathy. So what's that about? How can you be loving and empathic at the same time that you're being neutral and not attached? Here's the magical key. We are neutral and unattached about our children's choices. We are not unattached and neutral about our kid. So I love you no matter what. There's absolutely nothing you can do that's going to change that. And, looks like you chose not to brush your teeth today. Oh, well, that you do you. And here's what happens when we don't brush our teeth. We might say treats are for kids who protect their teeth, or it looks like we'll be taking a break from sweets for the day, or whatever the consequences in your family. Totally neutrally. I'm not upset that you didn't brush your teeth. Why would that bother me? I already have all my teeth. You not brushing your teeth doesn't make a difference to me. So, do you see the distinction there? So, we want to not give a negative attention. I know that's like a quadruple negative, I think. Never not be giving positive attention. No, I'm just kidding. Um, we want to avoid negative attention. So what does that mean? It means avoid getting upset, avoid, really displaying a ton of negative emotion, and also weirdly, not a whole ton of positive emotion even about kids' choices. Kids can come home and say, "Mom, I did X, Y, and Z at school today," and you can tell they're really proud. That's a really great time to, once again, not be neutral about your child, but still be neutral about their choice. So it seems like you're really proud of yourself, or I can tell you're really excited. What made you excited about that, right? Like I see you, person in front of me that I'm in love with, not I see your choice and I'm going to categorize or qualify or judge what your behavior was. Obviously, impossible to do this 100%. Also, not necessary to do it 100%. But what I really want you to take away from this is how important and transformational it can be for us to do our inner work on figuring out how not to get upset when our kids make mistakes. And when I talk about non-attachment, I'm not just talking about like, misbehavior, like, oh, you missed curfew, or with younger kids, like you threw sand at your brother or whatever. Not just misbehaviors, but also choices that we are struggling with because we are attached to the outcome. Like, so I'll give you an example right now. My daughter Gigi has been doing gymnastics since she was like 3 years old. And it's been one of the healthiest things in her life in terms of her mental health and her real like self motivation and all this stuff. It's always been her every step of the way that wanted to do it. And it's always felt like something really healthy and important part of her life. And now she's 14 and she don't want to do it no more. And I wish she would keep doing it. Like I think she's making a mistake. I think it's her life is going to change by not having this thing that's been a part of her life for a long time in a way. I am totally attached to her not quitting gymnastics. And I have had to out loud in my journaling, just really taking a moment, even in conversations, to remind myself like, this is not, attachment in this situation is not going to help. Because what are the odds that Gigi's life is going to be horribly negatively affected by quitting gymnastics? Honestly, pretty low. It's not like she was destined for the Olympics or something like that. But what are the odds that Gigi's life could be negatively impacted by me having an agenda and trying and getting upset that she quit gymnastics and us fighting about the fact that she's quitting gymnastics? Those odds are a lot higher. Like having a negative interaction between the two of us is it's not going to benefit anybody. And when we bring it back to behavior, it's not going to make her stay with gymnastics. And also, any of you all have teenage kiddos out there, you also know that if I do manage to convince her to stay with gymnastics, it will be with so much resentment and grudge holding that it will be completely counterproductive. So when we talk about, I'm talking about non-attachment in so many ways. Yesterday, I had a call with a parent whose eighth grader is failing a few classes. And she said in our call, well, I can't just let her fail out of eighth grade. And I was like, there's your attachment right there. Why? Why can't you? And it was like I had, told her, why can't you light yourself on fire? Like the fear and shock on this parent's face when I, suggested, like, well, why not? Why are you so attached to her passing eighth grade? And how is that impacting how you show up with your kid? How is that impacting how you respond when she has missing assignments? How is that impacting how you talk to her about time management, or how you talk to her about next year and freshman year of high school and all of that stuff? And it's like this gradual realization of, like, oh my gosh, I can't actually effectively show up around this topic if I am attached to it ending up a very specific. There's only one outcome that's acceptable, and everything else is unacceptable. So think about that attachment idea, and really put it together with that idea about the drama and the intensity piece. Because what happens when we are super attached? We become intense. Once we're intense, our kiddos are getting rewarded for this drama. So much drama, everybody. Think about so many arguments and crazy hysterical fights, the histrionics that go into these kind of head-butting situations with our kids. And imagine if you were truly neutral in those situations, what would happen? 90% of those situations would just evaporate. They would just evaporate. I'll give you a final example to let this sink in, which is also with my daughter Gigi. She's my most dramatic kid right now, anyway. And if anyone out there has been parenting for more than a few years and has more than one kid, you can know, like, everything changes. Right today, Gigi's the most dramatic. A couple years ago, it was Elijah. This summer, it was River. But in this current moment, Gigi is my most dramatic, and she really gets hooked on her negative story, right? She's a drama queen right now. She's a drama addict. And so I used to argue with her about it. I was super hooked. I was super not neutral about the fact that she would just complain and bitch and moan about her life all the way home from school every single day. It got under my skin. I was so far from neutral. I was 100% attached. And I used to try to cheer her up. Oh, you say that all the teachers hate you. Well, that's interesting, because this teacher told me the other day that she really enjoys working with you. You say that, you don't have any friends, but didn't you go to ice cream with 3 people from school this weekend? I really was trying to show her, your life isn't as bad as you think it is. Like, look at all this amazingness around you. Why don't you see it through this lens? And she was not having it. And what would happen inevitably is that she would double down on how horrible her life was. And we would wind up having an argument in the car where she's like, my life is terrible. And I'm like, no, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, I mean, what were we doing? And the second I decided to be, like, totally unattached to Gigi's deal, like, now she still will get in the car and say, this or this. And then I just say, I get it. I hear you. And within, like, a block from school, we've changed subjects. The attachment that we have creates attachment in our kids. The intensity that we have creates intensity in our kids, and none of it creates the outcome that we're looking for. So I hope that's helpful. And with that being said, I have a listener question for you. Then you might not see how this dovetails into what we've talked about, but I'm gonna make it fit for you. So Taylor says, I need some meal ideas for my 10-month-old and 3-year-old. They don't eat a lot when my husband and I eat. Plus, we eat spicy. I'm stumped. So, picky eating is totally 1,000,000% tied to this whole drama addiction thing. And especially with toddlers. So I'm not talking about kids with sensory stuff. Sometimes there's, kids have sensory stuff, and that really feeds into, like, what foods they, like, physically can make themselves tolerate. That's a separate conversation. But 99% of the time, we're talking about toddlers, especially, who are just picky eaters, and mealtime becomes this, like, battle of will between, kiddo and mom, or a kid just doesn't eat and they basically survive on goldfish crackers and granola bars the rest of the day. This is 100% about drama. And so the more neutral you are, the more unattached you are to whether your child eats the food you put in front of you, the less your dynamic will interfere with your kid actually listening to their body and deciding whether or not they want to eat. So you need to give, this is what I always talk to my parents when we talk about picky eating. I'm like, you need to give zero shits about whether or not your child finishes their food or not. They say, I don't like this. I hate this. I'm not going to eat it. And you say, good for you. Way to listen to your body. No problem. And just leave it at that. The less you care about whether or not they eat, the more they will actually decide rationally whether they're hungry or not. But as soon as we're like, but you loved this yesterday, or you haven't eaten all day, or you can't leave the table until you've eaten, or, please, please, please eat. Here, do you want me to feed it to you? Or let me go in the kitchen and make something different for you. Now there's this whole drama dance around food, and that is 10 times more rewarding than actually eating. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that, especially for a toddler, because that intensity is such a reward for them, they will choose to go hungry in order to experience that intense drama dance with you. They would rather, literally, they would rather piss you off than eat. They would rather stay hungry and piss you off than eat and please you. That's what's going on in a toddler's brain. Now, I want to make it clear, what's going on in a toddler's brain is just an amplification of what's going in all of our brains when it comes to drama. Toddlers aren't unique in that regard. They're just more intense in that regard. So we have got to walk back the intensity around food. Not to mention, I could do an entire podcast episode about food and like body issues and autonomy and agency and choice and even consent. All of that stuff is wrapped up into food. But even if we don't even talk about those topics, all you need to know is we need to be neutral about our kids' food choices. Now, this mom is also saying we eat spicy. Well, that's an easy solve. Make your food super mild and then let you and your husband add however much spice you want to it. But other than that, I always say make food that's reasonable. Like your kid will definitely, if they weren't being in cuckoo's nest, they would eat it. So, I'm not telling you to make like mushroom souffle with like liver and onion sauce or something like that for dinner. But your kid, the kinds of foods that they eat. Make it something that if they were being a reasonable person and not, amped up emotionally, they would eat it. And then give zero shits about whether they do or not. That is my advice to you. I hope that's helpful. I hope you're having an amazing day. I'm excited to talk to you next week. And if you want to get your question answered on the podcast, just send it in. I really love collecting these questions, and I can't answer questions unless I have questions to answer. So go to my website, AnnKaplanParentCoach.com, and just click on the contact me form. And I cannot wait to answer your question in a future podcast. Have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. The episode is over, but there's more waiting for you. You can grab my free workbook, Getting Kids to Listen the First Time, that walks you through the fundamental principles I teach all of my clients and applies them to this very universal parenting challenge. So if you're sick of repeating yourself all day long or just want to learn more about my style, you'll definitely want to go to bit.ly/kidswholisten. And if you're ready to work with me, let's meet. Set up a free call at bit.ly/KaplanCall, and let's create an action plan that gets you exactly where you want to go. And of course, links to all this goodness are in the show notes. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.